Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Manifestation Real Talk. With me today is the fabulous Kylie, and I want to make sure I'm pronouncing this right. Gabriel?
Yeah.
I'm very Californian, so how I pronounce it might not be the way your mother pronounces it. And they are the Endless Bliss power couple, massive power couple of Endless Bliss. You can find them type in Endless Bliss on anything and there they are. And sometimes it's Endless Bliss 2 words like on YouTube. Sometimes it's Endless Bliss 1 word on Instagram. Either way, that is the epitome of who this fabulous couple is. Kylie is from Canada and Gabriel is from South Africa, and they just told me they're going to be moving back to South Africa in 2 days. So how exciting for them. But I want them to introduce themselves and let us know a little bit about who they are, how they met, how this whole fabulous world of manifestation came into their lives. So take it away.
Awesome. So I think you should start with that one.
Well, yeah. So as you rightfully said, that I'm from South Africa, and so how I started with this whole manifestation game is obviously seeing The Secret. I think in 2007, and I remember just watching The Secret. I was just so fascinated by the fact that you could actually manifest your own reality with your mind. I'm like, no, man. And I was like, it's too good to be true. And I was like, I'm going to keep this to myself. I'm not sharing this with anyone. This is going to be my superpower. So that was the law of attraction. And but the thing is, it worked and it didn't work. It worked and it didn't work. And it was so draining. And, and I just forgot about it, and I just gave up. I was like, no, this stuff doesn't work. And then later on, I started working with Bob Proctor, and I was like, oh, okay, there is some, stuff to this. It actually works when you do this. And I obviously got introduced to certain different techniques and methods. And but that also didn't work so consistently, And afterwards, Bob Proctor introduced me to Neville Goddard, and that was a game changer. You made it so simple. It's like, okay, what do you want? Okay, just assume that you have it, and I'll remain faithful to it. I was like, oh man, so simple. I was like, I wish they could have just told me that. And then obviously, I used that principle to manifest my beautiful wifey Kylie, because when I found out that it was so simple, I was like, okay, cool. Now this means that I can actually manifest anyone I want, and I don't have to settle, right? So I just wrote down on a list exactly what I wanted, and that's how I manifested it. But I also want to mention that I was in one of Candice's masterminds, and
talking about Candice thought.
Yeah,
Return to Aloha. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we love Candice. Shout out to Candice.
Yes.
And yeah, so that's when I decided, oh, you know what? Maybe I should actually, manifest a wife. And that's what I did. Wrote down exactly what I wanted in a woman. And after that, when I had my list done, I just assumed in my imagination that it's a done deal. And from that day forward, I remained faithful. And then 3.5 months later, boom, she appeared in my reality. And the funny thing is, when she appeared in my reality, I knew exactly that she was my wife. Exactly, 100%. Why? Because it was according to the list that I written. So yeah, that's basically, a little bit about me. And of course, we manifestation coaches, we work together, and it's such a delight every day. It's like, oh man, it's like a dream come true,
Yeah, for myself, I had never heard of manifestation before. I had no idea what Gabriel was talking about when he first started sharing these things, because especially when he told me very early on, like, oh, you're my wife. And I was like, uh-oh, like, who is this person? What is he saying? But then slowly, as he started to explain what manifestation was, and at the time I was actually studying the Bible. And so when he brought in Neville and Neville's interpretation of scripture, that for me was really eye-opening. And I thought, okay, now I get it. Now, like, this kind of clicked for me to say, okay, so it's not what I'd always been taught, and that had never settled with me well. And when he started to explain Neville, that's where it was like, okay, yes, this seems like this is right. This makes sense. And so, yeah, we started, well, we obviously got married and all of that lovely things.
Yeah.
And then Gabriel had a coaching practice when we met, just part-time. And the one day he just said, I was looking for a job. And he said, well, what if, a friend asked you to work with them and you could change lives and use your skills? And I said, yeah, I guess I could do that. It just depends on who the friend was. He said, well, what if it was me? And ever since then, we started our business last year. We launched it, and it's been the most amazing journey, one manifesting our own business and helping our clients manifest their dream lives and our own dream life. It's such a wonderful thing. So much has happened, it seems, since we met. It's been incredible.
Yeah, and by the way, on that list was also my wife would be working with me, helping to actually transform lives as well. So yeah.
Look at this. Look at this. I love this. Kylie, go in a little bit more about how the whole scripture and how that shifted, because that I've always wondered about that. I've never met anybody who it was that way around, where they were very much, the Bible, and then somebody came along with Neville's interpretation, and I know it's very eye-opening. It's very and for those people that are watching and wondering about this, Neville very much talks about how the Bible is not a historical document. It's very much each person in the Bible, such as Mary and Jesus and all the J's, John, James, all those guys, is a state of being, your I am. And when you go through it from that perspective, whoa, like you said, the original didn't sit with you very well. It's like, okay, this is being taught to me and everything, but and yeah, when I was a small child, I read the Bible through twice, and just because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. And I never could understand it. I was just like going, there's that whole section in the beginning where it's like, John begot this person begot that person. And it's just like going, oh, God. Okay, I'm being dutiful and reading through here. But I want to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I was doing a program at the time when we met where we actually would go through each book individually, but we'd have to read through it 5 times. So essentially, at the end of the course, we'd have read through the entire Bible 5 times, dissected it, done interpretation. But that kind of was what really started this notion of what I've always been taught doesn't seem right anymore. When you really look at it through your own lens, your own perspective and interpretation, you realize that there's a million interpretations of what the story meant at the time. And every pastor and preacher has a different sermon about that same topic or that same passage. So I thought, okay, surely there has to be more. Like, this doesn't seem like we're doing this right. Because if anyone can pull anything and make it their own meaning or their own reasoning, surely that can't be the right interpretation. And so, yeah, when Gabriel first introduced it to me, I thought, okay, this is different. I'm open to it. But this is like you said, this is completely opposite to what I had been taught. I mean, we were looking at who wrote it and when they wrote it and to whom they wrote it. And Neville comes in saying, no, none of these people existed. Don't worry. And I was like, what? This is so opposite to what I was just studying. And you study it, so you think it's like, this is a fact. And so I did have to wrestle with that aspect of it. And I think still till today, it's like, okay, well, maybe there's a bit of truth in both. I don't know. But really, when it comes to certain stories where even myself, I would look and say, Gabriel, I understand this story now. Like, this is what this means, like David and Goliath. This is actually what this state is in this state, and putting it together outside of what Neville himself taught. That's when it really clicked to me to say, okay, now I get this so much better. And I can appreciate the Bible so much more because I see it as directly applying to my life or someone else's life or situation. Whereas before it seemed so like unattached to today. I mean, you read, like you said, why do I need to know about all this chronological things that happened before? Or what does this have to do with me today? Is it just a nice
example? What's a good example of, like you said, David and Goliath, or what's a good example of a state that really kind of knocked you off your, blew your mind?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me see if I can think of it off the top of my head, or if you remember one that I told
God,
you.
like where you proved to yourself that you were God.
Ooh, I like.
I don't remember, but that sounds good.
Yeah, no, it was the so I proved. We did a few exercises that I shared with Kylie, and I said, listen here, I'm just going to prove to you that your imagination is God, or like Neville God,
Okay, so that just kind of triggered something for me. But I remember the one scripture that you had said, and I forget where it is, but it says, like, does your words not tell you that you are gods?
Yeah.
And
it's in Matthew something. So it's in Matthew and it's in the Old Testament.
Yes.
Is it not written in the law that you are gods?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember when we came to that, when we were studying, they said, no, it doesn't literally mean that you're gods. It's just taking the context and, relating it back to the Old Testament to show a thread throughout. I was like, okay, that's not a good answer, but okay. But then when I placed kind of Neville's view of it, then I was like, no, this is like a literal thing. Like, Kylie is not a god, but the God that's in me, that one consciousness, that universe, whatever you want to call it, that awareness that connects me, connects you, connects Gabriel, that's God. And that likes to dance and play through us. And one of our first dates, Gabriel he said, okay, test it. Said, now just imagine seeing a red car drive by. I was like, okay, I can do that. And next thing you know, within 30 seconds, the red car goes by. Imagine two birds land just beside our table. And I said, okay, I can do that. And two birds come again within a minute, right there beside our table. And I'm just looking at them. I'm looking at him. I thought, who's this person? I mean, I think it was our second date. So you're still getting to know the person. And just over and over and over again. And then all throughout our relationship since then, we play with that all the time. And we see, like, how much further can we go? Like someone with blue hair or someone wearing orange pants and a yellow top. That we just see what we can create because we can, and it's fun.
I have to interrupt you for a second. Because we just something very big just happened. So while you were talking, and you were saying, Gabriel was like, okay, so prove it to yourself. In that moment, I remembered a game I used to play with my clients called the color game. And you would go for a walk, and before you went for a walk, you would pick a color or two or three or whatever, but you pick a color, and then you would see all the ways that color would suddenly pop up. And as you were talking, that was going on in my mind. And I remembered one time where I was out walking and red was my color, and I was just getting red cars. And then you were like, and a red car went by. And I'm just laughing. I love those. I love the serendipitous. I love the synchronicity. And so anyway, I'm sorry I had to interrupt you, but then you went to like all these color things, and I'm like, yep, there it is.
Yeah, thanks for sharing.
And that's awesome. Because like just the way that, I mean, again, that interpretation of scripture, they said, no, because, they always want you to look outside of yourself. You have to even in other spiritual circles, you have to look to the universe, and the universe out there will guide you. instead of allowing the thing within you to play through you. It's so much more empowering. Even Gabriel said, when he went from the law of attraction to having to pull something from out there to the law of assumption to bringing it forth from within, like that's so much more empowering. Like that's a beautiful way to live life, not trying to appease something outside of yourself, but just living authentically as yourself and letting that come through you.
Yeah. Oh, I love that where you said not trying to appease something outside of you. Yeah. Not worried you're being judged. You're doing it right. Oh, I didn't manifest this, so I must be doing it right. Whereas when you really own it and understand your God, it's like, no, you can't do it wrong. So, that was so good, by the way. That was so good. Gabriel, what are some ways you help people to understand they are God, other than what Kylie just brought up?
Yeah, the most common one and the obvious one is to actually have them look at their current results, right? Your health, your happiness, your relationships, your bank account. Those are actually all evidences of your imagination, which is God that created that for you, right? Albeit not desirable. So maybe you look at your bank account now, or you look at your relationships, or you look at your life, you're like, it's kind of not what I want, but that's what you created. So which means that you are the creator of your reality. And if you accept that you created that, then you can use the exact same power to create the opposite. And to create the opposite is as simple and easy as what you did with that. All you have to do is just change your assumption. So in other words, you're just going to change your mindset from how you used to think earlier on and yesterday to your new mindset to say that, of course, I have perfect health. Of course, that I'm blissfully happy. Of course, that I'm, abundant and wealthy, and I'm getting wealthier every day in every way. That's my new norm. It's my new way of life. But you remain faithful to that new story, and you play it in your mind over and over and over again until it feels real. And the good thing is, when you do remain faithful, you will then see circumstances, environment, and people reflect that in your mindset or in your imagination. Like Neville Goddard tells you, but that is proof that you are God, and you want to test this. Don't just agree with it and nod your head like, yeah, I'm God. No, test it. Really, really test it. That's the first thing I did with Kylie, because I needed to a reminder that she was God. And when she saw that, she's like, oh, okay, this is actually real. This is real. And from there and forth, she just, when she was reading Neville Goddard, you can even hear in the videos as well, you will think that Kylie has been studying Neville for years. She was only introduced to Neville last year, but the reason for that is because I could remind her that she was God, and that quickly activated her true identity, which is, God. And that's why it's effortless for her just to share, and to, teach. And it's a beautiful, thing to witness. So that's what I would say. For anyone that wants to prove, just assume whatever it is you want right now, assume that you have it now. Assume you have it now. Remain faithful to that assumption. You will see your 3D will conform, and it will prove to you that you are the God of your reality.
Boom, drop the mic. So what are some great success stories of that, other than what Kylie just told, where you're sitting there and just like, imagine 2 birds, not 1 bird, not 3 birds, but 2 birds, what are some great success stories maybe your clients or you guys had, where you're just like proving to yourself over and flipping over and over again that it's like, damn, this shit works?
Yeah, I'll have Kylie go first. There's been obviously quite a few with you, your skin and all, and then afterwards.
So the first, I would say, if we can say there's a big manifestation, but in manifesting a color car or birds, it's like, okay, that's nice, but it doesn't have like a bearing on my life, we say,
Yeah.
And so when we met, my skin had broken out. Like, I had no idea what happened, but like I had acne everywhere. It was swollen, puffy, and yet he still fell in love with me.
Mhm.
I'm grateful for that.
Mhm.
It was crazy. And, Gabriel would say to me, no, but you have perfect skin. And I would just look at him and like, this isn't perfect. Like, this is painful, like all these things. And he said, no, but I see it as perfect. And he said, if you also look in the mirror and see perfect, flawless skin, that's what you'll get. And I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to see if this really works. I thought I'd really test it. Can I change my physical appearance just simply based on using manifestation? And sure enough, like it seemed to go, it was still, a few months until it got clear. But the accelerated rate of it just clearing up, no more pain, no redness, no swelling, like just everything just so quickly clearing itself up. And it's just remaining faithful. Like even if the mirror I saw, acne, and it was painful to sleep on if I had to roll on my side. But I just remind myself, nope, that's not the truth. The truth is I have perfect clear skin. I have perfect clear skin. That's all I see. That's all he sees. This is what we're doing. And it happened so quickly, like seemingly so quickly. And I haven't had an issue since. Like once it cleared up, it's still, I have flawless skin. Of course I have flawless skin. I've always had flawless skin. And it was feeling that feeling before it happened. I think like the confidence that it just kind of gives you, like, of course I have my ideal body. I have my ideal face, my ideal skin. Walking around in that attitude instead of like, oh, what are people going to think? Maybe I'm just going to wear my mask and cover it up and like hide away.
Yeah.
So that was for me, I think my first seemingly big manifestation where it was like, okay, I do see that this works and I can even change my physical appearance. Like that's crazy. And I think the second one that really had a lot of bearing for me was with my visa. So I got notice that my visa for South Africa was being revoked and I had 1 week left. And this was right before Christmas, like right at the beginning of December. And I was like, this is our first Christmas together. I don't want to be separated. I don't want to go back to Canada as yet. Like South Africa seems like my home. And so we were like trying to figure out all the ways to do it in the physical. And then finally, we both kind of realized, why don't we just use manifestation? Like, we're God, we can change this situation ourselves. And so we just said, okay, cool. So I stayed for Christmas. Everything was fine, stayed into January. Everything was fine. And at the end of January, we got a notice to say, okay, now only are we going to file the documents to say that it's revoked. We thought, okay, perfect. That still gives us about another month. We're in the clear. And we just used our imagination and saw that I had left South Africa and come back. That's kind of what we said. That implies I could leave the country and come back, no problems. And sure enough, we get to the border at the airport. And the guy ahead of us or beside us, he had a fake visa. So there was all these issues and commotion about him. He couldn't come back to the country. He had to leave. And I thought, oh no, like, is this a sign or something? So he said, nope, I left and I came back. I left and I came back. And sure enough, we got to the visa counter and the lady just, did whatever she had to do. And Gabriel asked her and said, everything's okay? And she said, yeah, of course she's fine. Why wouldn't she be? I thought, okay, perfect.
And I even asked, if you could come back.
Yeah. And he said, she can come back. She said, yeah, why not? I said, nope, no problem then, no questions. And then I got my new visa again, like within half the time that they expected. And now we're going back. So it was perfect. Like even to change a legal system, it works. Changing a physical appearance, it works. Changing anything you want, it works.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's just beautiful to know that the power to manifest anything we want is within. It's like we just have to accept that it is a done deal.
Yeah. It's the whole Abdullah thing. You're already there. Slam the door.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me more. Come on, I know you guys.
Sure, I'd love to share one of a client. And so we worked with this client, and he was like actually a male, and he wanted to manifest his SP. You know, it's like everybody's just SP specific person, right? But it's a good thing, you know. Love it in the air. And so what actually ended up when he started working with us, and he's like, you know what, Gabriel and Kylie, I'm such a nice guy, and it just seems that women always, and he used the word always, women always take advantage of me, and you know, they end up, you know, cheating on me. And yet I'm such a nice guy, I give them my all, but they always do this. And then Kylie and I, we immediately noticed that's the story that he's been telling himself every day. They always do this, they always do this. So we explained to him that your assumptions create your reality. So what we need to do is we need to change your story from, you know, you are now, okay, we obviously asked him what he wants. He said, I want exactly what you have. So I said, he's like, yeah, I want to experience bliss, you know, the love. I'm like, okay, yeah. So just assume that you are now, you know, in a blissful, you know, relationship, and you're always deep in love with your partner. That's your new story. That's going to be your new song. That's your new name. That's your new way of life. And that's your new norm. And so we obviously, you know, just helped him to remain faithful. We held him accountable like every day, you know, just to remain faithful to that, remain faithful. And I think it was 2.5 months later, he kind of reconnected with a girl that he hasn't seen for 10 years. And when they came together, it was like, wow, an explosion of love. And you could see like they even called us on FaceTime a couple of times, but you could actually see how blissfully in love they are with each other. And they're now getting married as well. You know, they've now been together for quite some time. They're getting married. And he's like, wow, guys, you actually told me, you did say that if I just remain faithful to the story, it would happen. And look at me now. And he's just been still, and to this day, he thanks us profusely to say, thank you guys. We were like, no, we just, you know, reminded you that it was all, you know, within you. And we're just grateful that you actually did the work in terms of accepting your new story. And you really remain faithful to that. And look at you now. And we always tell him that it's only going to get better and better and better and better and better, you know, because it's endless bliss, right? You know, it doesn't end. So so that's definitely one of our, you know, favorites. And yeah, like one of my favorites is also physical appearance, just to show, you know, people what's possible out there, because we obviously know about money and all this, but with my eyesight, like my eyesight wasn't 100%. And even when I was driving, Kylie, you know, I used to be like
the steering wheel.
right on the steering, you know? And I was told that I needed glasses. I'm like, no, I don't want to wear glasses. And I just, you know, assumed that I had perfect vision, 20/20 vision, and I remained faithful to that. I remember the first week I kind of wavered a little bit. I was like, this stuff doesn't work. But then I remembered, no, I have to remain faithful for another 2 weeks. And then boom, I realized that, okay, I now have perfect eyesight. I can now drive, just lay back. I don't have to like lean, you know, against the steering wheel. I can now read, you know, Kylie usually asks me, what's that? I can now tell her that. So that is such an awesome, you know, one for me, because it just reminded me that what happens, you know, to our physical bodies, because essentially our bodies is within us, right? So, and whatever we tell our bodies, it has to follow, because we the creators of our bodies. And I just assumed that, hey, I had perfect vision, 20/20 vision, and everything is perfectly fine. And so, yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites. And yeah, that's just to show people that whatever, you know, seemingly ailment you have in your body now, you can just assume the exact opposite, and your body has to conform, you know.
So fun.
Yeah.
I have so many similar stories too. You know, when I was little, my mother took me to the eye doctor and they fit me with glasses, and I saw worse with the glasses. So I would, when nobody was, you know, I'd take them off. Okay, now I can see.
Yeah.
And, you know, and for my whole life, it was constantly, as a young child, it was like, well, where's your glasses? Put on your glasses. It's like, okay. And then it was like, oh, well, you're having a hard time seeing because of this and this and this. So we'll give you these different glasses. And the whole time I'm like, I see fine. I don't need my glasses. And then finally, when I think I was in high school, I just wadded those suckers up and threw them away. And I'm like, no more. We're not discussing this anymore. I'm not playing that game anymore. And I've never had a problem since. And I actually have an old pair of glasses that every once in a while I'll wear at night, because all of a sudden I can't see very well, and I'll put them on. And then I'm going, wait a minute, what is it I'm not seeing? What am I really not seeing? And in that moment, I'm just quiet. And then something will bubble up. And I'm like, oh yeah, life is even easier. And then all of a sudden I can't handle the glasses. I got to take them off. It is so amazing.
That's awesome.
I know what we can do, what we do. And I love the story. Well, number one, I love the story that Gabriel, the minute he met Kylie, he was like, you're my wife. I mean, you talk about slam the door. We're already married. Slam the door. You're already my wife. Slam the door. I love that. There's no wiggle room. There's no wiggle room for, well, maybe this is gonna work, and I don't know. I need proof. And I love that. I love it. If you want, I didn't know. Did you want to say something about that?
Oh yeah, sure. You were gonna say something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, because like Gabriel said, like he made that list, which obviously helped him to see, but there were a couple of things on his list that I wasn't, or not yet, you know, but Gabriel still made it like, no, like you're my wife, you get all of these things. Like like working together. We hadn't worked together, but my life was in this crazy transition of finishing studying, trying to figure out what am I going to do next. Our strengths are completely opposite. I'm very admin focused. Gabriel's very creative. And so it's also just remaining faithful to that. Like, no, okay, this person's my wife and we work together to change lives. You know, and I think vegetarian was another one for you.
Oh yeah.
And it was so easy. I was like, oh yeah, well, like I'm not gonna cook 2 meals for us. That doesn't make sense. Yeah, of course, that's fine. Like vegetarian's great, cool. And so also just Gabriel remaining faithful, I guess, to what he's always wanted. And it was crazy too, because when I think back to my like mental list and you're talking with your friends, like, oh, what kind of guy do you want? And like literally Gabriel, everything I said, but it wasn't intentionally manifesting and remaining faithful to the assumptions. It's just what I always wanted also. And so it took a lot longer because I was not necessarily remaining faithful to my assumptions and wish fulfilled. I was just living my life. But still for me, I'm like, I get everything I wanted too. Like it's amazing just to see even that if you're not intentionally manifesting, as I think even you commented on one of our posts, they're like, we're all masters at manifesting. It's our natural state to manifest.
Yeah.
And so even though I wasn't intentionally doing it, my reality still reflected what my desire was. And it's like,
yeah.
Isn't that wonderful? And was there a moment, Kylie, where you were like, oh my God, he's what I've been wanting, and I had it and I didn't even see that I manifested this?
Yeah, I think it was more so after, we're trying to think how it was a bit further on in our relationship. There were some things that I was like, oh yeah, I always wanted someone taller than me. That's, cool. A lot of people are taller than me. I'm not very tall. But then just there were certain little things that Gabriel would say or do, and I was like, I always wanted that. I'm like, oh, I wanted someone like that. And then the more I had those experiences, I was like, I say this like every day now. Like I always wanted someone like this. Or once Gabriel met my family, And I remember my mom said, well, you always said you wanted someone like this. And I was like, yeah, I used to always say that when I was even young. And so then, like, even other people reminding me, like, you've always wanted this thing and now you have it. And I didn't even realize intentionally that I had it.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. I want to let Gabriel talk, but you so drive home the point that I'm always, always, always saying, which is you don't have to do a damn thing to manifest. You are manifesting like an MF 24/7, every nanosecond, and you don't have to do anything. Yes, the lists are great, and writing things down, and that's all fun because it really kind of clarifies it for you. Plus, it makes it really fun when you start proving to yourself. You start getting to go, oh, like I said, oh, this shit really works. It's always worked. You just didn't see it. Now you're seeing it. And I love that. I love that you're, because I'm one of my biggest thing is that I always tell everybody is it's like everything that's happening right now, every memory, every thought, every feeling, every teaching, every person saying, oh yeah, you always wanted that. You're manifesting that right now to support, where you're at in this moment. And there's no technique, there's no whatever, there are 1,000 techniques and they all work. But even when you're not doing them, you before you wake up in the morning, you're kind of like going, oh, I'm in my room, I'm in my bed, the window's over here, the closet's over there. And then you open your eyes and poof. That's manifestation right there. That's you, like, just wow. So I love that you really drove that home. But Gabriel, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to also share that because a lot of people ask, they actually so surprised when I tell them the journey of my manifesting, Kylie. As I said in the beginning, I immediately accepted that I am now the blissfully married man, and that obviously implied that I'm in a blissful marriage with my blissful wife, right? And I just remain faithful to that from that day, forward. But I remain faithful to it, through gratitude, because gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. So you can only say thank you for something that has happened to you or something that is happening to you, right? So I was like, okay, if I say I'm happy and grateful that I'm now blissfully married, it means that I'm blissfully married. But what I would do is during the day, I would actually combine that with my daily activities, implying that my wife is with me. So in other words, if I maybe just chill at home watching Netflix, and if she comes to my mind, i.e. my manifestation, I would express my gratitude that my wife is next to me, we're watching Netflix, and I'm like, oh, wow, isn't it so cool? And laughing together. And I would see her in my imagination. And when I would go to restaurants, right? So I would go to all these fancy restaurants alone. I know some people, it's like they want like, what? I'll never go to restaurants, but I actually went alone. And
you
even
your own company.
Yeah, while you were there with me in my imagination, right? And so even the waitress, they were like, are you alone? I'm like, yeah. Well, I would say to them, yeah, but meanwhile, I know that she's there with me, and we would cheers together in my imagination. And I would go for walks in like hikes and, walks on the beach, look at the sunset part. I would see her with me in my imagination and just like expressing my gratitude. Wow, look at that, baby. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that sunset. But now check this out, right? So I remained faithful. And then after 3.5 months later, she then appeared in my reality, which we call a manifestation. But when she was in my 3D, right, in the physical, we ended up doing all the things that I did for 3.5 months in my imagination. We did that over and over and over again. And I even had to share it with her. I mean, we did the sunsets together, beach walks, hikes, went to those restaurants together. And I even shared with her, I'm like, oh my word, man, I used to do this in my imagination, and now, and it would feel so natural, And sometimes she suggested, I would suggest it. It was never forced. It was just like, yeah, sure. It's like Kylie said early on, we're just allowing, this power within us to dance and to play, however it wants to, dance and play. We just allow it to be. And even when we do our videos and stuff like that, we just allow it to dance and play, through us. We never plan or never do this.
No scripting.
No scripting, just allowing this power to dance and play through us. And I just want to share, when you actually do remain faithful, combine it with your daily activities, what you're already doing, because remember, consciousness is the only or substance of reality. And consciousness is the inner world, which is the mindset or the imagination. So whatever you're doing in your mind right now, that is the truth. The 3D is only reflecting your mind. So whatever you're doing here, that is the truth. So look at the 3D as an echo. It's like a copy of your mind. So it's not real. It's only a copy. It's like you have your passport and you have a copy of your passport, right? You know that a copy is not real. So why would you even worry about the copy? You know what I mean? Worry about this. This is all that matters. So if you tell yourself now, I am happily married, that's the truth. Remain faithful to that. It has to show up in your reality, whether you like it or love it.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I have to tell you. So what Gabriel's talking about is your inner conversations, guys. We have them all day long. And when I wake up in the morning, I spend 3 minutes on gratitude. And then I'll spend another 3 minutes on saying congratulations to whomever. Sometimes it's myself, sometimes and every single one of these things that will crop up while I'm saying congratulations, all of a sudden a story will come up or a person will come up. All of a sudden it starts becoming this big weaved story. It always comes true. It always comes true. And if I'm really having a good time, because this is just the best part of my morning, is I'll do another 3 minutes of like, isn't it wonderful? Isn't it wonderful? And I'll just say it. But again, like I said, a story will arise, and it's fun to just, like you said, you're just letting this party play, right? You're just letting this wonderful power within yourself play. And it's such a blast. But I had met Candace. I had seen a few of her things on YouTube. And for those of you guys that are wondering who I'm talking about, I'll put a link down below. And I was in a class. Oh, yes. Okay. So this was last December, 2021. And she was getting ready to do the mastermind in January of 2022. And during the class I was in, she's, how they're always giving giveaways, and she's just like, we're going to announce one person to be in the mastermind for free. And I was like, it was me. In fact, I just, in my mind, and I wasn't trying, in my mind, I heard her say my name. No, actually, I heard Brian say my name. And I was just sitting there, just kind of staring off while they're doing their thing. And they announced somebody, and it wasn't my name, but I heard my name. And even though they announced somebody else, I was like dancing around going, I won. And I was just like all happy and everything. And then all of a sudden Candace goes, you know what, guys, I'm going to announce a second person. And I'm like, of course you are, because it's me. And so when my name came out of Brian's mouth, I was just like, okay, I got to tell you guys a story of what just happened. Because, and that's how I live my life. I used to work in a grocery store, and we're supposed to sell these hunger bags. And I would say to people, I'm like, do you want a hunger bag? And if they said no, I heard a yes. I always heard a yes. I heard what I wanted to hear, and I remained faithful to it. And hence, I sold an outrageous amount of those without even trying. In fact, I would have people going, oh yeah, I want 20 of these, or what. And it was just like, everybody's like, how are you doing this? And I'm like, you really want to know? And so I had to tell you guys the story about Candace, how I got in the mastermind of last year.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I think I It sounds very familiar. I think I must have seen like a recording of that, but yeah, it sounds very familiar. I remember,
Yeah.
how it can even share that, how you manifested that.
Mhm.
That's so awesome, because it's not what you look at that matters. It's what you see, right? And what you hear. What you see and what you hear. So you could see a white Tesla and you're like, nope, I've seen a black Tesla. And you're like, your 3D say, no, it's white. You said, nope, I've seen a black. As a matter of fact, I've seen 2 black Teslas. Next thing you know, boom, two black Teslas, right? Because you are the creator of your reality. You're literally writing your script of your life in real time, which is so awesome. It's like, you don't have to accept what the 3D tells you. I mean, what you want to do is you want to make it better, good, phenomenal, and blissful.
Yeah. And I think also, I mean, as humans, I don't know if it's on our nature or what, but we're always taught like you have to figure out how. Like, oh, well, they said they're gonna pick one name and they didn't choose mine, so that's it. Or you said, no, like, don't worry about how. You are in that mastermind for free also. Like, it doesn't matter how it happens, it's just it happens. And they said, okay, let's open it up to 2 people. Why not? And I think that preoccupation with how is it going to happen, that can really trip you up, because you're trying to figure it out instead of, as you said, just let it happen through you, let it play, just let it go through you. When you don't agree with the 3D, say, no, this is actually what happened. This is the truth. And just allow that to play out however it needs to play out.
Yeah, it's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Well, and I go back to what Kylie said about, letting that energy just come up and play and play and play. And I think that's what we're doing. I think that's why we get so giddy too.
Yeah.
That energy is us going, okay, now I really get to play. Now I'm really having fun.
Like that inner child gets let out, and you can just you don't have to worry about how and this and that. Like, it takes away fear, worry, anxiety.
Yeah.
Like, that's also with gratitude. I mean, I find that for me is just, oh yeah, like, look at all the things I have. I already have everything I want. I can manifest, and oh, okay, so there's no stress anymore. There's no worries. You can just be a kid again and just live your life.
Yeah.
And it's so amazing.
Yeah, because you already have everything that you wanted, because you said thank you for it. And it's a done deal, and afterwards, then you just, go with the flow, play, laugh, enjoy, dance, and it's so beautiful. Like, gratitude is just so powerful, man. I mean, that's one of the most powerful things that we share with our clients, and we see how it transforms their lives as well. Because as we said, you can only say thank you for something that you have. So if you want to be married now, you want that successful business, if you say thank you for it right now, it implies that you have it. So you don't have to worry how, because it's already a done deal. You are in Barbados and you went first class. Yeah.
And I love the story of one of where Isn't It Wonderful comes from, because there's that lady, the friend of Neville's, who she just had so many things, because it's like so many people are like, oh, where do I start? I need money. I need an SP. I need this. I need that. And it's like, that's where, just, isn't it wonderful? Everything I ever wanted is here, and more, always more. There's always a little surprise from the universe. You're like, oh, I didn't know I wanted that too, and I got it. But and I love that. I love that even when it feels overwhelming, like, oh my God, where do I start? You can just start with thank you. Just thank you. Yeah. But then I think of my 3-year-old grandson. Well, no, he's 4 now, who doesn't say thank you, and he gets anything he wants. And he knows that he's got food, he's got shelter, he's got security, he's got love, that he can do anything. And everybody's like, oh, isn't that cute? And, and there's no thank you there. And there's that energy of, the children of a baby and stuff. They have everything because they just know. They just know. Yeah. They like leapfrog over the gratitude and any technique, and they're just like, don't you know who I am? I am God.
analogy
Mm,
because we've talked about being kids before, but you're so right. Like
mm,
they don't need a tool or a technique. They're just like, I am me.
yeah.
So of course everything is sorted. And it's true, like you're not gonna withhold something from them.
Mm,
Like they just know. And
yeah.
so it goes back to even like what you were saying and what we mentioned in some of our videos that people get so like, oh, well, what tool should I use? What tool is the best tool to use? And
Mm,
what technique, what routine? And I mean, they're all as good as they are bad. Like they're not going to manifest anything for you. You're going to manifest everything for you.
mm,
So they might help you, they might not help you, but it's not about the technique. It's just about just knowing that it's done
mm,
already.
mm,
You know that just like that 3-year-old, everyone's gonna come and bring you whatever you need, and
mm,
they're just them.
yeah.
Yes.
Right. And we're the creators of our reality. It's just
Mm,
because we've been conditioned, and so the
mm,
tools, kind of actually,
Mhm.
make it a little bit, easier for us to put us in that
definitely.
wish fulfilled.
Mhm.
But as you rightfully said, you don't need those two. You just need to accept that it's a done deal. Like, when you order something online, the moment you click purchase, it's a done deal. You don't
Yes.
you don't worry about the how, you don't call the people, you don't complain, you don't try techniques, you just know it's a done deal. So I think it's the same thing that we should apply to, our manifestations. At the moment we know what we want, we just have to assume that it's done. However, obviously it's not that easy, right? So it's not that easy, but it is easy.
Yeah, it depends on what you're assuming. If you assume it's not that easy, poof.
Exactly.
Now but isn't that cool? Because even when you're playing with it's not that easy, easiness arises because now there's all these manifestations, wonderful manifestations to
Yeah.
prove to you that it's not that easy. And you easily manifested them.
Like you said, like we're always manifesting. Like Gabriel said, like look at your world right now. You're like, oh, money never comes to me. Well, check your bank account. Money's never coming to you. That's proof right there. Like
Easily, money's never coming to you.
Yeah. And also, I just want to share something quickly on our YouTube channel. So we introduced this fun challenge, and the challenge goes like this. So every day you just tell yourself, I always manifest millions for fun. I always manifest millions for fun. I always manifest millions. And like we already got, we only started it like a few days ago, right? Three days ago. And we've already got one subscriber that manifested 1 million.
I
Just for
saw
fun.
the story today.
Actually, we got 3 in total, just for fun, because we were like, you know what? You don't need a challenge. You don't need a challenge, but it could be fun. So let's make manifestation fun again. Let's make it fun again, right? And then you're like, oh yeah, I always receive money out of thin air. We had like over 1,000 success stories of subscribers that are still manifesting money out of thin air, including millions. We like subscriber million, manifested 2.5 million out of thin air. And now this recent one yesterday, 1 million. So it's so cool, man. It's so cool.
And that, I love that. You got to tell more about that because, tell some more success stories of this people manifesting money out of thin air. Kind of tell me about the challenge. What was the basis of the challenge? And then tell me a little bit more about those success stories.
Yeah, sure. So the first challenge that we introduced, which was now about 2 months ago, it's called I Always Receive Money Out of Thin Air. So what you do is in the morning, first thing first, you just repeat, I always manifest money out of thin air. I always manifest money out of thin air. Isn't it wonderful that I always manifest money out of thin air? Everyone knows that I always manifest money out of thin air. You just repeat it until it feels natural to you. And then afterwards you drop it. And then during the day, when it does come to your mind, you just express gratitude that, of course, I always manifest money out of thin air. And in the evening as well, just before you go to sleep, you're like, just repeat, I always manifest money out of thin air. And then what we do is to kind of keep you accountable. We have you comment, I always manifest money out of thin air on the YouTube video. And then what Kylie and I do is we imagine for you. So if, let's say if you comment, I always manifest money out of thin air. And then we will imagine for you to say, yes, of course, you always manifest out of thin air. It's your new normal and everybody knows it, you know? And it's so powerful. I think that's why we gotten so many success stories, like over 1,000. Still counting, still counting. Yeah, still counting. And then obviously the new one that I always manifest millions for fun. Yeah. Yeah, you go.
Yeah, well, I think that one's very similar. It's just affirming that to yourself. Like, of course, I manifest millions for fun. And I think really the heart of both of the challenges is just to allow, you said, to make it fun. You know, a lot of times we use manifestation or we see it as a tool to help us out of our problems. Like, oh, I'm lonely, I need an SP. Oh, I have debt, I need money. You know, my car broke down, I need a car. You know, we use it just to solve our problems. But as we said, like, you can use manifestation just to manifest anything you want. You have that power to do it. And so that's why we said, no, I manifest millions for fun.
Yeah.
Just because I can, because it's fun to do it. That's why I'm going to do it.
Yes.
And manifesting money out of thin air, I don't have to work for it. It's just easy. It's fun.
Yeah.
Just to do it. And I love the community aspect that was created through those challenges, because now people are imagining for each other also and encouraging each other. And even though it's a digital platform, but people are still like forming their own community within that community, you know?
Yeah.
I love that. Isn't that awesome? You know, and I agree with you. That is so powerful thing that Candace does is, if you mention a limitation, how she'll turn it. And she's like, oh, what I heard you say is, you know, that you're manifesting millions. And I love that. And that when I first heard her do that, it was really eye-opening for me. I went, oh yeah, I don't have to accept anything I hear, anything. Even when my friend is complaining about her knee, I'm glad I'm hearing that, oh, your knee is doing great. And, you know, it's an internal conversation, but it's like, oh, that's so awesome. And then, all of a sudden she's just like, my knee of 2 years problems is all of a sudden fine. And I'm like,
they're like, oh,
yes, of course. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I accept nothing different in my reality. I do not. And I'm always like, I'm not available for that, you know, and I'm saying that in my mind. I had my last guest on the podcast was asking me afterward, we were chatting, he was asking me if I ever mess with the weather. And I'm like, all the time. You do it all the time too. You're like, oh, the app says it's going to be sunny and poof, it's sunny. And you think it was the weatherman that made it sunny. No, it was you. And, you know, and I was telling him, I said, I woke up one morning and then I looked out my bedroom window and it hadn't snowed. And I was like, I wanted it to snow. And then I, you know, I make it snow. And then I came down to the kitchen and looked out the window of the kitchen, everything's covered in snow. And I love that, you know, and it's just as easy to do that with millions and billions. And I love that you guys realize, because you were saying, of course you did. Of course you did. Yeah. Because everybody's you pushed out. Everybody's your creation. God, how powerful is that when you're seeing everybody rich?
Exactly. Yeah. It's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
Oh, anything else you guys want to? I'm going to put their information down below everywhere you can find them, their website, everything. But like I said in the beginning, just put in Endless Bliss and they come up. Seriously. But anything else that you want to share before we sign off?
I think just one of my biggest reminders lately has just been that, just personally, like, there's no such thing as like a big or small manifestation. Sometimes it's like, oh, but like millions of dollars is so much harder to manifest than $10. Or, you know, if you have, you know, this disease, it's like, okay, well, that's so much harder to fight off than the common cold. You know, we place a hierarchy on these things that we want to manifest, when really, if you truly believe that you're a god of your reality, nothing is easy or hard or big or small. It just is. As I said, you just have that power to do it. And so taking those manifestations off that pedestal, or just seeing things as they are. $10, $1,000,000, it's the same thing. It's the same power you're using to manifest both. So one's not harder than the other. So that's why we always say you don't have to settle for anything. You don't have to settle for a mediocre bank balance, or a mediocre relationship, or mediocre health. You deserve the best of the best, and you can have the best of the best.
Yeah, for sure. And I just want to also, remind everybody that irrespective of what your life is like right now, whether it's, not good or whether it's good, this is just a reminder for you to actually take this opportunity and make it phenomenal. Make it phenomenal. And I mean, if it's up to you, surely you want to experience the best of the best. But this is just us reminding you that you can have the best of the best. That's why Neville Goddard always say you have to put it to the test. And it does work. It worked for my eyes. It worked for skin. It worked for me manifesting it. It worked for our clients. It worked for our bank balance. It worked for the bliss that we're experiencing every day. So if it works for us, it can definitely work for you guys as well. Just say, you know what? I'm going to take this opportunity to test it. And I'm going to now manifest that happiness that I always wanted, that health that I always wanted, that wealth, that relationship, whatever it is, and just accept that it is a done deal right now. You don't have to wait until Jesus comes back. You know what I mean? Because he's already in our imagination. He creates our reality. But what I want to say is that you don't have to wait for the perfect moment. Do it right now. Press pause on this video and do it right now and say, you know what? I'm going to take this opportunity and I'm going to manifest the best of the best life now, and really test it. And it's so cool, man. And have fun with it. And all you have to do is just accept that it's a done deal. Remain faithful to that new acceptance. Make it your new story and just say, thank you, thank you, thank you.
That being said, thank you to the both of you for being here. And what he's saying about the manifesting, I manifested them. For my podcast, I had a specific type of people I want on my podcast. And poof, there's these two suddenly show up. And I'm like, there they are. And it is following the inspirations that arise from that state of I've got it all. I'm the person who has it all. And it's all of a sudden, and I have a woman who's going to be on here, and she's great at manifesting from the perfect body. And she's just like, I never wanted to exercise or anything, but when I hold to that I am healthy, that I am slender, all of a sudden I'll get this impulse to go for a walk. And I have a blast on my walk, and I don't like to exercise. And all of a sudden I love exercising. And that's what I love, is how the state of the person who has it all, the state of whatever, the millionaire or whatever, starts putting little, Easter eggs on your path, and you get to go, Candice gives a great one about suddenly liking her nails polished. Never liked that before. And I have one recently of all of a sudden I've been having these cravings for caramel. And I'm like, I don't eat caramel. Where's this coming from? But I know it's a state. I know it's a fun state that's arising, and I get to see. So I love that. I love that you guys bring a lot of, you guys are just such a wealth of so much amazing information on this that I'm definitely going to have you guys back again.
Yeah, sure. Anytime. No, thanks for having us. We appreciate you. It was so much fun. It was blissful indeed.
Yeah.
And that hour went by so fast. Holy cow. I looked up and I went, oh my God, the time is flying by. I'm having such a great time. But thank you to everybody for being here. All the information will be down below, plus tons more. In fact, I'm going to want to put the information for that challenge down below too. And thank you. We'll see you guys another time. Bye.